I made two Final Fours back to back in college. It's fiery, but also at the same time, like, it's not easy to win in the NBA.
Hey, what's up, and welcome into the Players Platform for BVM Sports. I'm Mike Hill, joined by the Houston Rockets in 2015 National College Player of the Year. They call him the Tank. Frank Kaminsky hanging out. What's up, Frank?
What's going on? Happy to be on here. Happy to be talking about some fun stuff today.
Yeah, man, let's talk about some fun stuff. We get into all the things, man, the engagement, playing in the NBA right now. But I want to talk about the human element straight up, man, because you're joining us from a hotel room in Houston. That trade back in February, man. Just talk about that process and what's that like. It's a human element because most people outside of the world of sports, they can't relate to that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Being in an organization and all of a sudden you shift cities and how that affects you and how that affects your family. Talk about that for a second.
It's definitely a shock when it happens. This is the first time I've been traded. So I didn't think I was going to get traded leading up to the trade deadline. Like, everyone knows that it's always a possibility. And with the NBA, like, trade deadline the way it is now, it's become like another like free agency show to see like who's going to end up where. I didn't think I was going to get traded. I laid down for a nap, and right before I fell asleep, I heard my phone ringing, and it was the GM of Atlanta telling me that I got traded to Houston. And, my dad had just flown in that morning because we had a bunch of games at home, like a nice home stretch coming up, and, your life just gets uprooted. I had to leave that next morning for Houston. My dad flew home that night back to Chicago. It's kind of like starting all over again. You get to Houston, you got to bond with new coaches, bond with new teammates, get comfortable with a new organization. You got to do it quick. So, it's definitely a stressful process for sure.
Yeah, is it a shock to the system? Like you said, it's a stressful process, but is it almost like a shock to the system because, once again, like you said, you don't expect it. You hear about it, may hear rumors here and there, whatnot, but you didn't expect it. And then you get that phone call because, obviously you had your dad coming in, your family members coming in or whatever. So you expected to be in Atlanta. And then all of a sudden, like you said, your life gets uprooted.
Yeah, it's definitely not what I expected to happen, but it's just the nature of the business. Anything can happen. Organizations are trying to do what they need to do. There's financial decisions, there's winning basketball game decisions, there's just so many different elements. And unfortunately, when you're a veteran, those things just can kind of happen. You can get attached to deals. Teams want you, they value you for different things. Houston values me more for my veteran presence around a younger team. So it's just different philosophies and different organizations and teams that want different things.
You're not even 30 years old, I don't believe, yet, right? I think you turned 30 in a couple of weeks or so, maybe next week or whatnot. And you're the elder statesman pretty much on this team. Did the guys kid you about it? I mean, because it's like a totally different generation. This is more like two generations past, because you talk about the stars of the team are in their 20s, 20, 21 years old.
It's definitely different. I turned 30 in like a week. So I'm definitely like the old guy in the room. Me and Boban's 34. I'm turning 30. We're like the two old guys. Everyone else is like 3 years of experience in the NBA or younger. A couple 19-year-olds, couple 20, 21-year-olds. It's just different. Just the whole climate of the NBA is just different now. Everyone's trying to get younger and find guys that can help them win. And if you're not going to compete, there's a lot more rebuilding that's going on now as opposed to, when I came into the league. And I try to explain that to them. Like, when I came into the league, you had to earn your spot like everywhere. Like, even if you were a top, like I was the 9th pick in the draft and I had to earn my spot, in the rotation in Charlotte and in the playoff rotation when we made the playoffs. It's different. It's just different nowadays, but that's not a bad thing, but it is what it is. And, the Rockets are valuing me for my veteran leadership, and that's what I try to provide.
Do you feel like it's your job, maybe your duty, to not necessarily what you do on the basketball court with your physical sense, but with your mental and the things that you can pass down from your experience to these younger generations, some of these younger players?
Absolutely. And, I've kind of talked with my dad about this. I've learned a lot about, who I am as like more in a leadership role. In Phoenix, when I played in Phoenix and we were going to the finals and stuff like that, it was kind of like everyone had their own hand in like the leadership jar. It was just, there's a lot of mutual trust. we didn't have a ton of young guys. We had some young guys, but you know, you have like Chris Paul and Devin Booker, and those guys know that, like, you know, the best leaders know how to get everyone involved.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what it's like here for me, you know, taking, you know, what I've seen from other really good leaders and trying to apply that here. You know, whether it's, you know, in film sessions, you know, pointing things out to people that they could be doing better. You know, talking to a guy who's struggling, because, you know, young guys, when they don't go out and don't play that great, you know, it kind of feels like, and I felt that early in my career, it kind of sometimes feel like it's like life or death. And I
Mm-hmm.
try to explain to people like all the positive things they're doing that on the floor. You know, you're not scoring, but you're doing X, Y, and Z really well. So it's definitely different. You know, I love playing. That's obviously always the goal. You know, I love playing basketball. But if the best thing that I can do for a team and an organization, given the situation, is impart my wisdom and be a leader and try to help people get better in their careers, because I want to see everyone be successful. You know, I had really good veteran leadership when I was a young guy. They always taught me the right things, and I just try to do the same thing to these young guys here.
You got two great, Jabari Smith, Jalen Green. Who are you excited about in their future in the NBA? When you see them in practice and you see flashes or whatever, which one of those players, or maybe somebody else, or one of these young guys that's on the team right now that you're so excited about, you can't wait to see how their career pans out?
There's multiple guys. You know, Jalen Green's obviously, he's a great scorer, and he's starting to put a lot of stuff together as far as you know, his game. He's adding things to his game. He's adding layers to his game. He's starting to see the game a lot better. You know, just with his athleticism and everything, the sky's the limit for him. And the person I've seen since I've been here kind of make the most steps is Jabari Smith. You know, he's starting to figure out where his shots come from, you know, body positioning. He needs to add strength to his frame and stuff like that. But just his ability, his size and athleticism, and his shot making ability is just, you don't see that very often. You know, you don't see a 6'11" guys that can shoot over the top of people and have a higher release and shoot the ball at a high clip like he can. So, you know, he's played very well, hit some big shots, you know, hit a game winner against the Celtics like a week back. He doesn't back down from anyone, not afraid of anything. It's really positive, and I think he's going to be a really good player in the league for a long time. And then there's other young guys on the team too that are just figuring out, you know, what their role is going to be. You know, that's the positive sign of being in a situation like this. Like, obviously we're losing a lot of games, but they're starting to figure out, you know, what they can be in the NBA. And I think that guys see over the course of time what it is they can do and how they can affect the team. And, you know, you take that into the summer and you work on it. The next year you come back and you're even better at it.
You kind of touched on this earlier about, you know, being a 9th overall pick, being the player of the year coming out of Wisconsin, then going into the NBA and having to earn certain things and the pressures and the expectations of being in the NBA and how tough it is or whatever. There was a generation, the generation before you and some generations well ahead of you probably looked at your generation and said something about your generation that they didn't like. You know what I mean? Like, okay, these guys get paid too much money. They're just giving opportunities without it, and it's pushing a lot of people out. Now that you're in that other echelon, you still got a long career ahead of you or whatever, you're looking at this newer generation that's coming in. Is there something about this newer generation that some of you so-called old heads may be looking at him like, they got to figure that out? What is it, if it's true?
I'd say the number one thing for me is social media. You know, I think that plays too much of a role in some guys' careers nowadays. Like, whether it's, you know, going on there and seeing the criticism, you know, just everything that kind of comes along with it. You know, I didn't really have that growing up when I was playing, like going through college. It was starting to become a thing, but nowadays it feels like it plays a huge part in everything. And it's obviously great. That's how you grow your brand. That's how we grow the NBA. That's why money keeps going up and up and up, is TV rights and social media deals and all that stuff. But at the same time, there is a negative aspect to it too, that it can kind of hinder some guys, you know, if they get too into it. And I try to tell people, like, during the games, you know, when you're here for basketball, it's about basketball. Like, social media needs to be like kind of separate from that. Like, what you do, like, when we're not during the games is what you do. But like, when it comes to basketball, like, you got to be laser focused on, you know, what you need to do to win that night. And that's kind of how it used to be. Like, I remember in Charlotte, we used to have a fine, if you were on your cell phone a certain amount of time before the game started.
Hmm.
Like if they saw you on your phone, obviously if you're listening to music or stuff, that's how some guys get like focused. But if you're just like on your phone, talking to people on the phone, on FaceTime, stuff like that, going on social media and stuff, there used to be a fine for it. So it's just a little bit different now than it used to be.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot different. Like I always say that social media is one of the best inventions ever, obviously because you get the word out, but it's also one of the worst inventions ever because everybody has a say so and everybody can see and everybody has an opinion about certain things. And I think, do you think people learned, not just the younger generation, but the older one, like the whole John Morant situation being on and the types of troubles, do you think those types of things that come out about star NBA players, you think that sends a message to the rest of the league?
I think it does. I think, unfortunately, sometimes the best way to learn is to see other people's mistakes.
Mhm.
I think people learn more from, hard times than they do from, everything being easy and great all the time. I think for the younger generation, it's kind of like a message that, hey, this basketball stuff, it's more than just showing up and putting a ball in a hoop. It's like you're a role model. People look up to you. You're in the spotlight. You have a platform, and with that comes a lot of responsibility. You have a responsibility. You're representing an organization, a city, a league, a Fortune 500 company. Like it's a lot bigger than just what you put on there, the pictures you put on there, the videos. It's just it. And I understand, like, some people, you're young, you got to grow up and learn. I can't imagine what it was like if social media, what it was when I was like 18, 19, 20 years old.
Mhm.
But it's something that comes with age, and you just got to learn. And that's why having good veterans in the locker room can help you with a lot of that stuff. And I know aren't as many as there used to be, but for some of us that are still there and being the vets, it goes back to that whole point of just trying to teach the younger generation, like, this is about basketball, but you also got to realize you're representing something a lot bigger than yourself.
Yeah, it's one thing not to hear from the media. It's one thing to hear from people on the outside looking in as far as social media is concerned. It's another to hear it from your organization, maybe a coach, general manager, maybe an owner you work for and played for Michael Jordan in Charlotte.
Yeah.
I remember when you was a rookie, I think I did like an event one time, and just to have Michael Jordan in his presence is one thing. What was it like to play under Jordan? Because sometimes, I've heard Jordan can be very critical as well.
That was a dream come true for me. I'm a Chicago kid. Uh, Grew up a huge Bulls fan. Michael Jordan was on every poster in my room. I used to have all like NBA. My whole bedroom growing up was all NBA posters on the wall. I've always been a huge basketball fan, and Michael Jordan was at the forefront. So it was like a dream come true for me to get drafted by him. I remember talking to him on the phone for the first time. But like when I got drafted, I was like thinking to myself, like, this is crazy. This is like full circle. It's amazing. And he's an owner. He's a very competitive guy. Like, you saw it in The Last Dance and all the documentaries and everything. Like, he wants to win.
Mhm.
And I'm the same way. I'm extremely competitive. It's always about winning with me. That's why at pretty much every level I've gone somewhere, and it's been about winning. I made 2 Final Fours back to back in college, but a team that had made 1 Final Four in its like existence. So it's fiery, but also at the same time, like, it's not easy to win in the NBA. It's not like you can just snap your fingers and throw a bunch of money at people and you're just going to figure it out and win. So, he's always going to try to do what he can to win. That was always the expectation. My 4 years in Charlotte was make the playoffs and be competitive. So, but he's a great owner. I learned a lot from him, just about that competitiveness, what it takes to be, a winner in the NBA.
Mm-hmm. And so you talked about, like, you mentioned like the draft that he had, the fact that he drafted you and you were, that first draft pick, and the fact that maybe there were offers, maybe not as big as some people reported, but maybe trying to move up, but he helped you because he believed that much in you. What did that mean to you?
It meant everything. Coming off, my college career, to have someone at the NBA level be like, we're trying to win right now. We need someone like him to come in and help us, and potentially he'll help get us over the hump. And my rookie year, it went great. We made the playoffs. We were tied for the 3 seed. Went to Game 7 with the Heat.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, should have won that playoff series and made it into the next round. Dwayne Wade hit a bunch of ridiculous shots to essentially put us away in game 6 when we were winning to close out the series. And then in game 7, just blew us out. But, that gave me a lot of confidence in my career moving forward. Like, it was about winning. And, when I went to Phoenix the year before, you just say, like, going further into your career, I went to Phoenix after my 4th year in Charlotte. They had won 19 games the year before. That first year, we ended up winning 38 games, I believe, and missing the playoffs by 1 game. And then the next year we played in the finals. Is the second best record in the NBA. So it's just going to Charlotte and playing for someone like him. It creates a competitive culture and an aspect that's about winning basketball games. It's not about, rebuilding, none of that stuff. It's about, trying to do what you can to win. And I think that's something that stuck with me. That mindset is, I'm trying to win. And that's what I'm about. Whether it's playing, not playing, playing spot minutes, being in the rotation, out of the rotation, whatever it takes. It's just all about winning.
Well, it sounds like you're the key, because you just mentioned, like, so this sounds like Houston needs to go ahead and resign you, and then 2 years from now they'll be in the final. That's pretty much what you're saying.
That would be nice.
The trajectory of having Frank the Tank on the team. Where did the Tank come from? Because you're a tall guy, but you don't seem like a huge, not like a tankish type guy. Where did that come from?
It's just the name.
Okay.
That's literally what it was. When Frank the Tank came out, old school, whenever it was, when we started getting a little bit older, and high school was when it really took on a life of its own. And then in college, it just skyrocketed.
Old school, man, old school. So long. You know that movie? Like so. It just kind of, was it from old school, or is it just somebody just gave it?
Yeah, it's definitely from old school. That's definitely how it is. Will Ferrell's character. Me being I was always the goofy kid growing up, so it's just easy to relate to.
All right, you my boy Blue. I like that. All right, so how's the personal life, man, off the court? I understand you're engaged to somebody who is in my profession, somebody who my old stomping grounds at ESPN. How's the engagement going with Ashley Brewer?
It's great. Life outside of basketball is good. Everything's amazing. Being hurt last year, having knee surgery and missing pretty much the whole season, was kind of like a blessing in disguise. Had a great relationship with her in the past and really took off, and now we're getting engaged. We're engaged and getting married this summer. So I'm really excited about it. Things to look forward to this off season. That
is awesome, man. That is awesome. How what was the setup for the engagement? Come on, take us back. How did you do it? How did you ask her to marry you?
I was in Hawaii. We went to Hawaii before this most recent season started. I like to be a little bit sneakier, not give it away. So she kind of knew it was probably coming, but also at the end of the day, I do a good thing of throwing people off the scent. But proposed on the beach in Hawaii, and it was beautiful. Right at the sunset in Hawaii, it was amazing. Went perfect, and it's been great since. Just planning the wedding and everything. I was nervous before. I was trying very hard not to give it away that I was going to do it. It's hard to get your fiance to a beach in Hawaii dressed up in nice clothes and not give it away, but I think I somehow successfully did it. I was nervous, with the ring and everything, that I was going to lose the ring or drop it in the sand or something. But yeah, once the actual engagement came, it was smooth sailing for me. I was comfortable.
What's it like being with the enemy now? Like the media and players, so that we have to do a job. Sometimes we say things, and I know she's not one of those pundits. She does the job. She does a great job, by the way, at ESPN in LA. So what's it like? Do you have a better appreciation of the media? Does she help you understand the media a little bit better? Is it something that you want to get into or whatever? How's that relationship work out, that dynamic?
Yeah, it's great. She loves sports. Obviously, she's worked in sports media since she graduated college. So she knows a lot about basketball, football, baseball. She loves reporting on all that stuff. So it's been great to have someone that I can have conversations with about everything. She understands the games, understands the sports. It's a great dynamic for the both of us. And yeah, something down the line that I would love to do is get into broadcasting. something I've been kind of working on behind the scenes. I've done some stuff with Players Association, different things that come up along the way for me. So having her as a resource and someone that I can talk to about all that stuff at the same time is just, it's a blessing.
If you guys were to do a show together, have you thought about a name? Have you thought about maybe a podcast? You thought of
We haven't.
You haven't?
We haven't thought about that stuff. That stuff while I'm still playing, kind of comes secondary. But we'll see. You never know what the future holds.
Right, man. I like to do open mic, man, where I just like allow you to riff anything that might be on your mind, anything that Frank Kaminsky outside of broadcasting, outside of being an NBA player, what's the future hold for you? If you weren't playing right now, what would you like to be doing? What would be your dream job outside of broadcasting, to say?
Ooh, dream shot. Outside of broadcasting, I think I'd like to do some more venture capital stuff, like venture investing. I love to do that. I love learning about new companies, especially startups. It's always been very fascinating to me. I've invested in some companies that I've seen go from essentially nothing to growing pretty well, do extremely well in that space. So that side of things has always been extremely interesting to me. I have an appetite for knowledge. I'd say that's the best way I can describe it. I love learning about things inside out, and yeah, that's just something I've done, and it's been extremely rewarding and extremely fun.
So the money man, the investment. So how do you know when somebody's coming in, they want to pitch an app? How do you know what's a good app and what isn't? I mean, I understand you do your research, but do you know right away, like, oh, that's a great idea, I'm ready to just put my money down right now? How does that work?
When I'm looking at a lot of stuff, especially things that are, new companies, new ideas, I find myself looking more at the people who are behind it. Like, who are they? What have they done in the past? Like, what does this mean to them? With some things some things I've invested in, simply the reason was, I saw people behind it that I knew were like willing to do whatever it took to make this company idea concept be successful. And some of the things I've passed on, it's just like another person, just like another one of their ideas that they're just like moving forward with, that they're not like super committed to. So I'd say that's the number one thing that I look for, in these companies that I'm, sometimes invested, sometimes not, but it's fun. Something outside, it's one of the rewards that playing in the NBA and the financial and the lifestyle and all that stuff is allowed me to do. And I'm extremely grateful that that's happened. It's a blessing.
My brother gives me a lot of financial advice when it comes to investing, and not necessarily in as a VC or anything like, but or apps, but in stocks and crypto, and like, you gotta buy this, you gotta buy this. Now, a lot of money. I'm like, where's my money? My money's gone. Have you ever have you gotten in a situation where you've invested in something where you're like, oh, that wasn't the greatest idea, or have you turned down something that you wish you would have invested in now?
Two things. I put some money into cryptos, and I don't get it as much as everyone else. Some people are super into it. It's just something I never really got into. So it's just kind of sat there for me. Like, I remember the whole Bitcoin wave. It was great. And then it all just kind of like came crashing back down to earth. Something I wish I would have invested in that I had the opportunity was a gaming company. One of these gaming teams before like Twitch and all that stuff really exploded. I passed on it. I was a video gamer. I played a lot of video games. I didn't see video gaming exploding the way it has in the past like 5 to 7 years. So that's one I always kind of kick myself for.
All right. Well, good stuff. Well, you live and you learn, bro. You live and you learn, bro.
Yep, absolutely.
It has been a pleasure to talk to you, Frank. Once again, I remember seeing you. I think you was a rookie. I don't know if you remember. They did like the Hornets did a tip-off thing back in the day.
Yeah, we used to do that.
MC for that one time, and to see Michael Jordan down there laughing at some of my corny jokes was great, man. But I remember you was really nice, and I remember that, man. So best of luck to you, man, and I wish you well in everything that you do. Congratulations on the engagement, and good luck at the wedding. You already got your outfit picked out and everything. What do you wear?
I do. It's a nice white jacket with some black pants.
How do you
Going
pick?
with the formal classic look.
How many how many groomsmen do you have, and do you pick the amount of groomsmen based on the amount of bridesmaids that she has?
We're not doing the super traditional groomsmen route. Like we have groomsmen, but it's not going to be, we're not having really people stand up with us. So, we're doing a beach wedding, so it's a little bit different, smaller, like kind of intimate setting.
There you go, man. That's another way to keep the cost down too, man, because you don't have it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Smart. So that's a man that knows how to invest wisely. Invest in your future, invest in your relationship and your emotions as well. Frank, appreciate you, my brother, man. And best of luck with everything, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely.